we don't get them in here very often. I love shooting guns and feeling.
Kidding.
You gotta do it one time. Alright, you ready? You know, you're gonna
fit.
well, probably, but just hold it with both hands.
Yes.
You might want to just a little bit lean into it. Just not a lot, but just a little bit lean into it a little bit.
Barely even freaking hold it.
It helps with the kick though.
Oh my god.
Lean forward a little bit into it.
Are you kidding?
Lean forward.
Lean forward.
There you go. A little bit. You'll be alright. Hold on. Yeah, just don't let go. Yeah. Just hold on. You got it. Hey, you want to keep going, don't you?
No.
Safety go down?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you've definitely confirmed that's my next purchase. Yeah. All right, so you're perusing. You're perusing the list.
Yeah,
there.
and I'm like, golly.
Yeah.
So, I know for sure.
So, all right. Well, let's start out. What we should do is we should. You got to give a little introduction. So you should probably introduce yourself to me. So, all right. So let me back up because we talked about this briefly before.
Right.
Just how excited I am to be here, and I'm super excited to be here because I don't know you. I have no idea. Like I didn't realize you even know your last name until we went to the range. And told him it was Thompson. So
Oh, I suppose because Alicia's married and or that's not her name. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just, really met you through your daughter, who I
Right.
really don't know that well either. I mean, I know her through Sandlot Volleyball. And so I'm excited
Which is
for
nothing.
this because it's something that I can pull my lens. I don't have a lens with you. I don't really have any background or preconceived notions.
So I
and
could
I'm trying
be
not
whoever I
to.
want. Then
You
I
could.
I could.
Hey, it's your story.
Can I give a fake name? No, I'm
You
kidding.
could do-
No.
You could do a fake name.
I don't-
I don't really care. I mean, it
That's-
really, honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if that's, yeah, you can if you want.
No, I won't because if anyone were to see me, they'd be like, "Hey,
I know you.
she's lying. Her
Right.
name's Jennifer. What is she
Right.
talking about?" So yeah.
All right. So Jennifer Thompson.
Okay.
Right, all right. So you gotta let's give me some background, just so I have some idea like who you are and brief questions. So were you born in Minnesota?
Born, yes,
In Minnesota?
yes, born in Minnesota only.
Did you weren't raised?
No,
Oh, you weren't?
no,
Where were you raised?
California.
Oh, you were? Mm-hmm. Where in California?
Until I was 15, I grew up in Orange County.
Right on. I lived in Orange County.
Get out.
Yeah, no, I lived in West Hollywood. I lived on the corner of La Cienega and 4th. I lived kitty corner from the Beverly Center. Yeah, I lived, yeah.
Wow.
Those were good times, yeah. Yeah.
I think that, yeah, those years there, junior high, beginning of high school in Orange County, I think I probably have more memories of that time than any other time. So yeah, I grew up there and then moved to Bakersfield.
All right, so you're there till
Totally
you're
crazy,
15.
Yeah. So my dad bought a business. So we bought a business with a partner in Bakersfield.
You got other brothers and sisters?
I have one brother,
Older, younger?
year and a half older,
Okay.
lives in
Right.
Tennessee.
He's in Tennessee.
Yeah.
All right. Right on. You talk to him a lot? I mean, are you close?
Well, we were until his wife dragged him out of Minnesota and to Tennessee because her son overdosed in their house
God
and she couldn't stay.
Oh, that's horrible.
And I don't talk to him as much as I used to because he had a stroke. he still has a little bit of speech issue, and he's still not 100% up there. So it's sad and depressing, obviously. And on top of that, it's hard because he's in Tennessee. You know what I mean? You don't realize until somebody moves out of state, even if it's a family member, a sibling, you just, you get busy with your own life, and when they're that far away and you don't see them as much face to face, you don't talk to them as much either.
It gets really easy to let weeks, months, and years go by. It's hard. I'm sorry to hear about that, the whole situation.
Yeah.
The whole situation with your nephew and...
Yeah, so so he wasn't my blood.
Okay.
Because when he married her, she already had 4 kids. But they were grown. They were all, older. Yeah, so it just was a bad thing. And, my brother... Anyway, so...
No parent should ever bury a child.
I know, I agree.
None. I don't, for any reason.
I agree.
I don't care what it is, right?
Yeah.
Ever. It's just not the order of things to go.
Right. And being a parent, you're also a parent. I cannot even fathom what that would feel like.
Oh, my God.
But because I'm a Christian and I believe in God, I know if you're under the age of accountability, all children go to heaven. And so, I guess that would be the only thing that probably would give me peace is if I had a child and they were under the age. Then I would know that I would see them in heaven. That's where we would be for eternity. Cool. So, that's that. And so, I grew up in Bakersfield, and my mom and dad were born and raised in Minnesota. So, out of the blue, one day my dad and mom decided that they didn't want to live there anymore. He had sold his business. They put their house on the market, didn't even wait for it to sell. Boop! Back to Minnesota they went. I was like,
okay.
Holy shit. And it was just me and my brother. By then I was divorced, and Alicia and her brother were little, 5 and 6.
Yeah, how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
Jason and Alicia have the same dad. I was married to their dad.
Okay.
Okay. I got married and divorced very young. Had 2 kids, Alicia and her brother. And then I moved out to Minnesota.
And is he older than Alicia?
Mm-hmm. By 1 year.
By a year, okay.
1 year. Came to Minnesota after a year or 2 of being here.
He's here in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay.
His dad died of colon cancer. His colon cancer, he told me he believed it was from drugs.
Okay, which, it could exasperate too. And so...
Because it didn't run, so...
Did you talk to him about it?
I did. When, after their dad passed away in 2010, I told both of them straight up, because Randy, my ex-husband, and I, even though we were divorced, we still were very good friends. We met each other in high school.
Okay.
Moved in together, got married right out of high school, popped out a couple kids, and we got divorced.
In California.
Yeah, in California.
Okay.
So he moved out to Minnesota to be closer to his kids, so he claimed.
Okay.
But it didn't end up like that. He had a drug problem with meth off and on, and so he told me when he was sick, he said, I believe 150%, because none of the cancer does not run on my family on either side at all. No kind of cancer. Right. He said, I think that I got it from whatever it is that they cut that shit with.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't know what they put in that stuff.
Oh, God, no.
Who knows? I'm lucky to be alive. So
We all
I told the kids that. I was very, very open and honest with them. I said, I had many discussions with your dad, and this is what he told me. And I told them, and I even told my youngest, Logan, I said, I cannot sit here and say to you, don't ever try, because I would be unrealistic if I thought that you guys would never. Okay, I know you probably have, or you will, or whatever. I said, but please, 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 for the love of God, whatever you do, do not ever try meth. Don't even try it, because if you try it, you will like it, and you will get hooked, and it is the hardest drug, even harder than heroin, to get free from. So please, whatever you do, don't ever even try it. I wish that he would have had that conversation with his kids. I wish that he would have, but he was such not a planner, when he was sick. So he didn't do a will. He didn't write anything out. I wished that he had talked to his kids about it, because I think maybe if he had, maybe Jason wouldn't have. But I think that he's just been so angry since his dad died.
You lose your dad, that's horrible.
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing.
It is. I don't know what that's like, because my parents are still married. You know, so I can't imagine what it's
Both
like.
your parents still alive?
Yeah.
And they're still married?
Yeah. They're celebrating their
shit.
58
Oh my God.
wedding
that's
anniversary
awesome.
this
Where
month.
are they?
They're here in St. Joseph.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable. That's awesome.
So I'm blessed to
That's
still
pretty
have
sweet.
them. Yeah.
And they're in semi-decent health. I mean, as much as you
My
can be.
dad is. My mom not so much because she isn't taking care of herself, you know. But my dad's really active.
Mid-80s?
My dad's 84,
Early mid-80s.
and he golfs every day that he can. So he's always been in a sport. He's either been playing tennis for years, and then when he got too old for that, then he got into golf. So he's been active, and I think that plays a role in his health. You know, my mom, no, so she has a lot of health problems, but
Hey, you gotta stay active, don't you? You gotta keep the blood flowing. You gotta keep your joints moving and stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
So they moved out to Minnesota, and then
All
2
right.
years later, my brother and I followed because I know it didn't take long.
Yeah.
I couldn't stay there.
I will tell you real quick that when you say Minnesota, so like I hit Dairy Queen on my way because I had to get a burger and stuff. And it was a long wait and it was forever. And she was so nice. And when she was, I'm like, thank you so much. You know, have a great day. And she's like, oh, you betcha.
Oh, geez.
She gave me the old you betcha, and I was like, okay.
Oh yeah,
Right.
sure.
Sure.
You betcha. I know. When I first heard that, I was like,
funny.
what?
Yeah, there's quite the, and I'm from Detroit and stuff, so
gosh.
I've
Very
just so hardcore. I mean,
How long
people,
have you been in Minnesota?
18 years. So
Okay.
it's been a lot of people, my friends all over the place, they tell me they're like, "Oh, you're so Minnesota."
Oh yeah. It doesn't take long. It seeps into your skin and gets
my
in.
New York came right out of me. I lived in New York. They beat that right out of me, but
Oh.
whatever. So, all right.
New York.
So mom, dad's still alive. That's awesome.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So then, you got divorced, and then so married again.
No, I had a baby. That would be Logan.
Okay. How old is he?
He's 24.
Ah, cool. Was he in Minnesota?
He is. Yep. He's up in Hibbing. He's
Okay.
tatted from head to toe. He was
They all are.
They are nowadays, right? But he's worse because
They are nowadays.
he
They're
tattoos.
all-
He tattoos.
Tattoos
He did
are the
this.
sign
He
of the
did this
devil.
for me. It depends on what you have. All of
saying
mine
that. I'm just kidding.
have a theme except for one.
All right. What's
Okay,
what's
this is-
that's
this
some nice
is-
line work on.
Thank you. This is my tribe of Judah.
That. What is it?
Okay,
You gotta tell me what that means.
the tribe of Judah. So
I
that's
feel like I've heard that.
it's biblical. Okay,
Yeah.
so there were 12 tribes. Okay, Judah is the tribe that Jesus came from. So
Alright.
okay, so don't.
I was raised Catholic.
Okay, so
I'm real familiar with the Bible, but not
right, and I've gotten really
deep. But I understand.
deep, and I mean really deep the past year that I been working from home, but then even more so when my last relationship ended, I got really deep into the Bible, and now I'm super big into Bible prophecy, especially end time prophecy. So I spend hours, and I mean hours a day, watching some of my people that I connect with on YouTube, some preachers that have been studying end time Bible prophecy for over 30 years.
Right.
And so I keep up on that, and I keep track of that, and I compare it to, Bible, make sure it's scriptural.
Right.
And so I've been really dive deep into that. So I'm not as knowledgeable as I want to be, but I'm still learning. But I did learn about the tribes and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to get a tattoo to represent that. And of course, this one here, I have a real cool kind of an abstract cross on my shoulder up here with a Jesus. It's hard. You got to see it to understand. Some people, when they look at it, they see the cross, but they don't see Jesus because it's not like a perfect outline of but it is a kind of an outline of a body. You could tell. So it's really kind of cool. I do have a rosary on my foot and my ankle, but I am not Catholic. But I got that because to me it's the crucifixion. It's symbolic. It's all the same.
All right.
So, anyways, yeah, that's that story. So yeah, I had a baby.
Oh, wait a minute, real quick though.
What?
We did them all, but back here, this one.
Oh,
here.
that's Psalm 23.
Jesus, Psalm 23. Yeah, I know. 23.
Okay. This is my newest, and I let my son do it. He begged me, and I said, okay, this is what I want, I guess, because I want to keep all the same.
Yeah.
He was stoned out of his mind when he did it, so it's not as good as it could be.
He did it?
He did it, yeah. He tattoos.
Oh, he's a tattoo.
So
he's
a lot
an
of the
artist,
tattoos
right.
he did on himself, yeah.
I think it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, I kind of like it that it's not like perfect. Like it's not.
Right.
It's not so. And I don't mean this in a negative way. I mean, in a really positive way. It's kind of almost amateur by design. Like,
Yeah.
it's really like it's human.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I like about it. That
yeah.
it's not like so perfectly
Perfect.
symmetrical,
Yeah,
every
it's-
little thing. Because that
right.
gets like boring, I think, and that's what I like. And the fact that he did it's pretty sick.
Yeah. I like that. He's 24,
All right,
yeah.
Jake.
He's such a sweet kid, and I know he means well, you know? He did so many nice things.
Of course.
I remember as a teenager, you know, he'd see an old lady coming through the door, wouldn't even think twice, he'd jump up, he'd run out there and open. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's like that. He loves the elderly, old people, or people who are mentally disabled. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
always drawn to those people.
So he's
and he's
got
a
a-
really good artist.
he's
He's
got
got
a
a
lot
good
of
heart,
compassion.
but he was the devil when he was younger. Drove me insane. And I can tell you, there is nothing worse than laying there in bed all night tossing and turning, wondering if your kid is in the gutter. And because that is what I thought. I knew that he was running with a rough crowd, you know, this kid. And I was terrified.
All right. Well, what would,
So
what would he say about you if? So he hears this.
and he knows, we've talked about it before. He's
What would he say?
if I do something that he doesn't like, or I call him out on something, he might get mad at me and he'll hang up on me, but then he'll come back later when he realizes, and he'll send me the sweetest text ever. You're the best mom ever. You're beautiful. I couldn't, you know what I mean? So I think if you were to ask him, he'd say, she's a great mom and she did the best she could. I know that I was a difficult child and I put her through hell, but she was a great mom and she did what she could,
Right.
given the circumstances. You know, he did. All my kids grew up without a dad. I raised all three of my kids by myself with no child support, with no help, with nothing. You know, and I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? I guess you just do what you have to do. You know, I didn't even think about it. I just did it.
That's
And
pretty strong.
I think my kids would have turned out differently. All three of them, if they had their father, some kind of male, you know what I mean? Someone. It would have been nice for Randy to be in Jason and Alicia's lives. I think that Jason wouldn't be on the path that he's on, and Alicia would be different.
Do Alicia and Jason, they talk? The brothers and sisters talk?
Yeah, well, so they live together now. They've been very close because they're only a
All right.
year and 2 days apart.
Right.
So they've always been
nice.
close.
They got a sense of family
They do.
there.
They
That's
do.
A good, that's
Yep.
a positive thing.
They do.
And no grandkids. Any of them have kids? Alicia have kids?
I have 7 grandkids.
You see them?
Sometimes.
How many of the 7 do you? Who do you see regularly? See anybody regularly? Like, I mean.
Well, obviously, I see Alicia's kids
Right.
the most, but her other 2 children, I have a really good relationship with their dad, her ex-husband, and he likes me. So he
That's
lets
cool.
me take those kids whenever I want.
I dig it.
And I just had them a couple weeks ago for like 5 days. I
High
guess close
school.
with them.
What would Alicia say about you? What do you think Alicia would say about you? When she sees this, what do you think she'd say?
Yeah.
What do you think she's... Well, how would she describe her mom?
She'd say I'm probably a cool mom. Probably more of a sister figure than a mother figure, which I don't know if she'd ever admit that, but I think I probably was when she got older, because we went out a lot.
Okay.
But she would probably say that I was, you know, a good mom, you know, given the fact that I had raised 3 kids by myself, you know. She knows how hard it is because she has 4 kids of her own, even though she's never been a single parent.
It's tough. It's tough just being a parent.
Yeah, it is.
Being a single parent, like, I can't even imagine that. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're a lot alike. Her and I are a lot alike. So she'd probably say I'd like that my mom and I have a lot in common. I'm a lot like her.
What do you do? Like, what do you do for a living? You said you work.
I don't
Mom,
anymore. So I amicably agreed to separate from my job. So they gave me 6 months salary.
Was this COVID?
No.
Or initiated?
No.
Or what?
They wanted to change my role.
What did you do?
So I work for a trucking company.
Okay. All right.
And they, after, been there for 2.5 years, and they decided that they wanted to kind of change my role. But I've been working from home since March of last year. When COVID started,
Right.
they sent me home to work from home.
Right, like everybody.
Which was
right?
great. I hated it at first, and then I ended up loving it. And I didn't want to ever go back.
Yeah,
I never wanted to go back. I
feel like
used
a lot
to.
of people have
Yeah.
they're like, they don't want to go back.
I didn't. And
do you feel like you were more productive at home?
yes.
I think
Because I was in a more relaxed atmosphere. I didn't have the outside noise, and there was a lot of noise in that building.
I think studies show that employees are more productive at home.
Yes.
For a multitude of reasons than they are when they go into an office. And they go into an office setting, it's almost, maybe not in the very beginning, but they look for ways to not do work sometimes. And there's just the conversations, there's stuff that goes on.
Right.
It's just, but when you're at home, and I don't know, because it might turn after, like, say, somebody's at home for 10 years, maybe after a while, they get used to their atmosphere.
Yeah.
But that they are very productive at home. It's it's not a bad thing.
It's not.
If companies can learn how to, the norms.
Right.
And it's hard because it's all new for everybody.
It is, and I think a lot of companies maybe feel like they lose control. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I probably spent a lot of time when stuff was slow watching TV. But I didn't need to be at my computer unless my work phone was ringing or there was an order that came through that needed, a pilot car on the load. Then I would sit down and I'd be working. But
if they would have given you other responsibilities and duties to do, you would have done that.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. All right, so what
they wanted to turn me into a salesman, and I said no. I don't want I do not want nothing to do with that. Nothing. I don't have any experience with it. I don't have any training. I don't want to do any cold calling. That's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is some kind of a customer service role where I'm dealing with people. I don't want a cold call. I don't want to sell. I don't. Right. And so they knew that they would have to fire me. And I think that they knew that if they did that, the possibility of me maybe taking them to court for wrongful termination was likely. So they offered me 6 months' salary, and I took it.
Right. Okay.
Because now I can focus, and right now I don't need to be looking for another job. I'm focusing a lot of my time on my YouTube stuff and reading my Bible, and I love it. And I'm happy right now. I'm happy. I'm okay. So I'm okay for a while.
Okay.
I have enough money in the bank.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some background there. Some good background. I mean, it's good stuff. You know, because I think it just shows that you are somebody that's like, I mean, I don't want to say you're like everybody else because obviously you're special. You have your own unique things, right?
Right.
But I think, in my opinion, a lot of the things you spoke about, I think a lot of people deal with on a daily basis.
Most definitely.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it's not easy sometimes, and sometimes it's awesome, and it's just, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, those folks are not alone.
Right.
They're not alone.
It's part of life. I mean.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that don't have kids obviously can't relate to a lot of things, parents talk about. And parents that have kids who are just almost perfect from the day they're born couldn't relate to somebody that had a kid with ADHD or autism, or you know what I mean, or being a single parent.
I don't think any kids are perfect. I think people look at it and they go, "Oh, your kids are like, oh, they're perfect. You don't have all the problems that I have." But I think they have. I just think that. I know a lot of folks, I've met a lot of people that from the outside it looks like everything's perfect, and it isn't. They just hide it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they don't expose it, or they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Or they're for whatever reason. I mean, there's a million reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever,
But some kids, I think, I look at, obviously every person's different, so every kid's different. Some are easier to raise than others. Some, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it just depends. You don't know what you're going to get. Right, right. So.
All right, so we got the board here.
Yeah.
We got the board here. So, all right, so how this goes is the theory when I first started to do this was you pick 5 categories. I mean, you can pick 3 or 1, I don't care. And then I ask you 5 questions. Okay. And in theory, it was in 5 minutes. And we just go through it in 5 minutes and then it's done. Okay. It never works like that. Ever.
Right. Well, of course not.
Never.
No.
It's always 2 hours long. Which is fine. I don't care. It's great. It's the way it should be. That's what I see it. So that's a theory. It can be whatever we want. So let's just, because we've already touched on a lot of stuff.
We did. Golly.
But I'll just throw that. So you pick just pick one category. We'll go from there, and then let's just start talking about it. And I'll ask you questions.
Lord,
so you think about which one you want to go with.
Let's touch on health.
You want to talk health?
Yeah.
All right, we'll go health.
Because we didn't really.
All right.
Talk.
All right. So.
Say anything about that?
No, we really didn't. And health can mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
Right.
So what, like when I first say health, like what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes to your head when you think of health? Is it running on a treadmill? Is it eating well? Is it not dying from cancer? Is it define health?
So when I looked at that, the first thing I thought of was my own health, being my long list of health problems. And then I think of other people's health problems and how people are coping and how they're being treated by their doctors and the drug industry. So kind of like there's this big like umbrella, with all these things.
So it starts with you.
Right,
it starts with you, and because that's the thing you understand probably the most, obviously, is your health issues, and then extends on to more society, and then overall what is being done or isn't, and how it's all being addressed and managed and such. So,
exactly.
All right, so let's start with you. So I don't know. You can talk about it if you want to talk about it. I don't. What your personal health? Do you feel like you're healthy?
No.
You don't feel healthy?
No. I have had weird gut issues since I was little. I remember being on medication as a young child, but when I got older, when I say older, I mean like in my early 30s, I just had this chronic stomach condition, and I went to the doctor. They ran a bunch of tests. They didn't know what was wrong with me, so they sent me to the Mayo Clinic. I've probably been to the Mayo Clinic 4 or 5 times since 2001, which is when I started going because I started getting really sick. So I have some kind of funky digestive disorder, so I spend most of my time since then feeling nauseous, like I have the stomach flu or actually throwing up. So they don't know what it is, they just call it a brain gut disorder. And so that obviously has had a negative impact on my life. But over the course of the years, it goes up and down. I would say the last 5 or 6 years has probably been the worst. And so, you try pharmaceutical drugs, that doesn't work, which I did for a long time. And then you go to natural health, and that really doesn't work, and it's super expensive because your insurance doesn't want to pay for it, And then you find chiropractors who deal in natural health, but also chiropractic care, and which I learned a lot from as well. So I look at that and I think that people, I can kind of relate now how chronic health conditions can really have a negative impact on people's life. And I kind of look at that as the reason why probably I never got remarried, because I don't want to be that burden on another
to somebody.
Right. And I just kind of feel like, I don't know, if I ever got into a relationship with somebody and I knew that they were chronically ill and I was fairly healthy, would I even want to be in a relationship? Because does that mean I have to stay home with you all the time because you're sick? You know what I mean? So that was kind of my mindset of why I didn't really want to start anything there and get into a serious relationship, because I didn't think that anybody who wants to be with someone who's sick, And a lot of people look at me and say, but you don't look sick. Well, I've gotten really good at hiding it since 2001. We're now in 2021. So
kind of like what we were saying about the kids. People think like, hey, your kids are perfect. Everything's great.
People because you look on the outside,
right. Right. It's hard to relate if you're not walking with a cane and hacking all the time.
Exactly, yeah. So
that's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah.
And you feel like it affects you like just like every single day, or it comes and goes.
Most days it affects me.
Most days.
Yep. So as the years have gone on and it's gotten worse, it obviously had a negative impact on my social life. So when I was younger, in my 20s and early 30s, I dated a lot. I had a lot of, and I don't mean to sound sleazy, but I had a lot of boyfriends. Lucy, whatever. But they were relationships, you know what I mean? But they were short, but they were still relationships. My kids were young, you know. It's not like I could devote a lot of time because I was taking care of 3 kids for crying out loud, you know. But I did not have a hard time finding guys when I was younger, you know.
Okay.
Not to say I was some beauty queen, but I wasn't ugly, you know. And even when I was older, my 40s, I could still, you know, date. But it got tough because I never really wanted to make plans because usually something would come up and then I'd get sick and I don't want to be around people, you know, when I'm not feeling well. I kind of just...
Because you feel like you're a burden.
Yeah.
Do you feel
that, and plus when I feel like that, so imagine feeling like you have the stomach flu on a daily. That's exhausting. Kind of, or lay around on the couch and feel sorry for yourself or whatever, you know.
Well, mentally, it has an effect.
It does, yeah.
You gotta have a huge effect.
It did. So I, you know, had a very small circle of friends, and then it got to the point where I just really stopped going out because I was just sick all the time, and I was like, oh, whatever. So yeah, it had. So my social life kind of went, you know, downhill, and So I've done a lot of things to try to. You know, I joined chat groups when chatting first got kind of popular in 2002, 2003. You know, you'd get into Yahoo chat groups on, you know what I mean, when that was really in, and I learned a lot, and you know, I've tried different treatments, and so yeah, I look now and I can see how it does. You know, people don't understand unless you've been there yourself and you've experienced it. You have no idea how chronic illness in which there is no cure for
you can't really take a pill and be like, I feel better
they don't
now,
work. I was given one, but
they didn't work for you.
It didn't. Nothing really has worked, and I've done literally everything from A to Z. And so now over the last several years, I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, this is just my life. I have to accept it and live with it, and I do. Some days, if I'm really, really sick for days on end, I can throw a bit of a temper tantrum, you know, and be mad, and even be mad at God. I mean, I've had lots of conversations with God, like, really? Why? I get it. Are you, you know what I mean? And I've done that for years, since day one, I think, you know. Yeah. So, but now I'm just like, I guess, whatever, you know, this, since I believe, you know, in God, and I believe that I will be going to heaven when I die, I really, at this point in my life, am looking forward to being gone. Like, I am like, God, please take me now, because I just want to be out of my pain and my sickness, you know. So I just learned to live with it on a daily basis, and that's all I can do. So when you say that, I mean, do you feel like suicidal? No. I have. Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah, that's probably why I originally had bought my first gun back when I first moved to about 4 years ago. That is why. But I've always had like a plan in the back of my head. Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you know, I've lost jobs before because of my sickness, and when you go to the doctors and they say, you know, this is all we can do for you. You know, there really is no fix. There's no pill. There's nothing we can do to help you.
Right.
It can be depressing, you know, you have that isolation, you know, and then who likes to feel like that? It's not like a headache or you know what I mean? Right. When you feel nauseous, you can do nothing. You cannot do anything. You don't want to do anything. It's a different kind of a feeling, a sickness, you know, versus, not saying that it's any more gut-wrenching but it's different. That's different.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. You seem like you adapt and overcome to it. I mean, you got the smile on your face, you know, and you seem real open about it.
Yeah.
You're not.
Well, I don't feel sick right now, so.
Oh, right. So,
I mean, and that helps. So it's like day and night. I literally am a different person. You know what I mean? And that's probably why some people find it so hard to believe or understand how sick I really am, because a lot of the times when they see me, I'm having a good day, and they don't see
the bad days.
The other side.
Because you don't let anybody see that, really.
Right. Yeah. Because a lot of times I lie or I fake it or I put, you know what I mean?
It's bad. It's not tough enough where you can fake it a little bit, and if it's so bad, then you just remove yourself from people.
Right. And I stay home.
You're just alone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Does I mean, your kids know? I mean,
know and
stuff? All right, so it's not like it's something that it's a super big secret.
No.
It's something that, I mean, do you have some support group? You feel like you do?
My parents are probably my biggest because they know, I think my kids were kind of young when I was sick, and so, but I don't know, probably Alicia and Logan would say that they understand it more because they saw me, especially Logan. He saw me on the couch a lot, By then, Jason and Alicia were already out of the house, and because Logan's 10 years younger. So he was home longer. Yeah, and he saw it. But there's been some things. I mean, you can ask Alicia. We left a concert early one time because I felt sick, and we still talk about Tay. She never lets me live that down. We had to leave early.
What concert was it? Do you remember? But when you're sick,
question put me up. I'll remember.
When you're sick, when it comes to you. When you're sick, though, like my personal opinion is like everything comes second.
Yeah.
Like you just want to feel better.
Yep.
Like just want to feel better. I don't care what it is. If it's laying on my couch, my bed,
right,
being alone, drinking water, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just want to feel better, and everything else is just something.
It is. It is. Yeah. So. I mean, I'm grateful that my kids were a little bit older so they could kind of pretty much take care of themselves if they needed to, and they were helpful, when I was too sick and Logan was younger. So I'm glad that they weren't little, because that would have been really tough. I would have had to have had somebody come in to help me if my kids were like babies or toddlers or, so I guess I'm
a little bit
glad that it came later and they were a little bit older. So, yeah.
So... You feel suicidal today?
No.
No, I don't mean today right this second, but I mean like in the last 30 days, in the last 6 months? Maybe 6 months is too long. 30 days, 3 months?
No.
Okay.
In the last year, probably, but that might have been that I can't contribute that to my health problem. Might have been. But yeah, I haven't been lately. I'm just kind of in a different place. I don't want to do that because not that I question my salvation, but I kind of feel like if I have to stand, before God and I have to answer for that, he's going to be mad at me. And I don't want, we don't want the living God to be mad. So I thought, I guess if it was my time, I would be gone. It's not my time. And if I have to endure this health problem for whatever reason, then I do. So be it. I guess I have to.
So you trust God.
Yep.
You got your cross.
Yep, I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And you bear it.
I do. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that I'll get my answer to why when I get up there,
Yeah.
I believe he'll say, here's the reason why I didn't heal you like you asked me to a million times, and why all those people that prayed over you, why it didn't work. This is because that wasn't my plan. It's, it would have ruined my plan for you. And so I'm sure there is an answer. I just don't know what it is. But I'm sure it has something to do with his plan, and I'm okay with that now. I accept it.
Well, I think most folks, especially nowadays, feel like life should be perfect and everything should be happy. Mm-hmm. But throughout time, and I think most religions, it doesn't matter really what it is, that life is really about there's suffering. Suffering's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's like suffering is okay.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. It sucks. I'm not saying it's
right.
good, but like it seems again to me, in my opinion, that it seems like maybe younger folks or maybe anybody under 30 or so, and maybe that's such a cliche thing to say, like, because and when you're under 30, you trust nobody over 30, right. And then when you're older, you go, anybody under 30, they don't know, but that they feel like maybe for a lot of reasons why that there shouldn't be any suffering. Like everything should be perfect, and everything I like fix it. Like here's my phone. I want to get a more app.
Right.
Swipe up, swipe left, right.
Yeah.
I gotta fix everything. I'm gonna drink, do drugs. Everything's gotta get fixed. It's kind of like it's okay to suffer.
Yeah.
It's okay. Not that I think anybody wants to. It's hard.
No.
Right? Who the fuck wants to suffer?
No.
Nobody wants to suffer.
But I think depending, it makes you stronger.
It does.
I don't care what anyone says.
It
does. It teaches you how to persevere and to try to push through and, not succumb to it and let it control you. Because what is the point in getting all up in arms about something that you have no control over?
Right.
Just, you're gonna have to just live with it. You know what I mean? And that younger generation is not our generation, and I kind of feel like they're spoiled, and they grew up in a different era, and a lot of things have been handed to them, and it's just
a little bit.
It's just a little different,
And I think if you ask some of them, and I'm excited to talk. I'm really excited to talk with folks from 19 to 29. Like, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Because I've spoken with a couple, and it's interesting that some of the feedback that I've gotten is really surprising. That their response is, "I wish someone held me more accountable. I wish I was, there was more of a stick,
right?
And I wish that because I would be a stronger person today,
right?
And at the end of the day, like, even as a parent, you look back on that and you go, like, what? Like, I should have done that. But then it goes back to, like, it's hard being a parent. It's so hard.
Yeah.
There's no book. No, there's no rules. Nobody
knows.
Nobody knows how to do this, man. It's hard as heck. And so, I don't know. I mean, my father was a Marine, and he was like, the Marine belt hung in the kitchen. So, like, we grew up, and he carried his gun on him all the time. I mean, I had moments when he put it to my head. I mean, so I grew up in a very authoritative, hardcore. And so sometimes you tend to go way to the other end of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Sometimes because you want to break that chain.
Yes.
Because you don't want to be that way. But then I look back on it, like, my father was my hero.
Yeah.
Like, I loved my dad.
Yep.
I loved my dad, and he was my hero. And he taught me so many things. Would have been cool if you could have taught him in a little different way. And that's what I'm trying to do as a parent. But it's hard to figure all this stuff out. That's why I think we evolve so very slowly as a species. It's just so slow. So as far as what do you think about the health system in our country?
It's horrible. I think the pharmaceutical company, the whole division, to me, is I think it's I hate to keep going back to it, but I feel like it's not necessarily satanic, but it's the devil. It's of the devil. It's man-made stuff. And if you were to talk to any good chiropractor, they would tell you, like, 80 to 90% of emergency room visits are because of you have bad reaction from one of your medications. I mean, the side effects from medications are unbelievable, and I am speaking from experience, and I am speaking from all these medical journals and stuff that I've been reading over the years. It is a fact. You take one pill and then you take another one to counteract the problem. It's just horrible. It's horrible. I think that back in the day, before the before it came to life, people treated sickness and diseases from stuff that came out of the earth, which God gave us. You know what I mean? Plus, our bodies have a natural immunity. We have an immune system. If you take care of yourself, you're strong, you eat right, you do that stuff, your body can fight off most things. But you look at society today, and everybody wants a pill to fix what's wrong with them.
Right.
It's ridiculous, and half the time it doesn't even work.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at our country.
Right.
What is it, like? 50-some% is obese.
Yeah.
Clinically obese.
That too.
And a lot of it, of course, the chemicals we put in our food.
Yes.
But a lot of it also is laziness.
Yes.
We don't want to work out. We don't want to do things. Right. And to be honest, it's really freaking hard. I mean, it is. Right? It's super hard.
It is.
It's not super easy.
It is.
I mean, I've gone to the gym, but like I go 6, 8, 9 months at a time where I haven't gone, and I just feel like crap about myself, and it's difficult. It's tough because there's so many other things coming at us. Do you believe in the health care? So aside from the pharmaceutical companies, do you believe in the healthcare system in our country?
Some.
What do you believe?
But I believe, because I've seen so many and I've talked to so many chiropractors, because I've had a long history of back and neck problems since I was in my early 20s. So I do know that your spine has all these nerves and all these things connect to every single organ in your body.
Yep.
And we're basically out of alignment from the time we're born. Being born is a traumatic thing to your body, and people don't know because they're not educated, and they don't realize that doing the simplest things, any kind of sport, if you sit too long, you
Right.
put all that I mean, we put our bodies through a lot, and if your spine and your neck, if it's out of alignment, it legitimately can wreak havoc on your body,
Yeah.
all the organs in your body. And if you would just fix that, you'd be surprised at how many other health problems you have could be fixed through chiropractic care.
So you need to be active, and
Yep,
you need to keep
right.
aligned.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Balance.
I'm not saying
It's
that
balance.
fixes everything, but I tell you
No.
what, it fixed
But-
more than 50% of the issues with people's health.
And of course,
right?
when people have the mindset, though, it's like, well, I'm going to go to a chiropractor once, and they just need to fix me, and then that's it. It's like, no, it doesn't
It's
work
not.
like
It
that.
doesn't.
You're
You
right.
have
You
to-
got to go back.
with
you have
some
to be
regularity,
consistent, but you
yeah.
also have to. Input's important.
You do. You do.
And exercise,
Yep.
motion.
You have
is
to be
important.
active, right.
It's all these things, right?
Our bodies weren't designed to just sit still, and you know, they were designed to be able to move, you know? I mean, geez, you can go days and days without sleep physically, but not mentally. What needs sleep is your brain, not your body. Your body is this machine that people
Right.
don't realize the capability, and if you take care of it,
It'll take
it
care
will
of you.
take care of you. Thank
Right.
you. Yeah.
Just like your
But-
gun.
Right.
Just like your car.
Yes, exactly.
like
Have to
anything.
put good, clean stuff in it. Keep it clean, you know. But
Right.
America, the obsession with fast food and junk and
Yeah, I know.
shit and sugar, which is poison.
Sugar. Because
That's
everybody
why
wants
we're
something that
so-
tastes good. I don't
Yeah.
want an apple that has
Right.
a bruise on it.
Right.
They're all afraid of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have to have the perfect
yeah,
tomato.
yeah.
Right?
I mean, and
They're gonna engineer it.
right.
Make it perfect.
I'm guilty. I
I'm
love
guilty.
donuts. I love chocolate.
guilty
I love
too.
cookies. I mean, you know what I mean?
I
But
am too.
shit, if it was never here, I'd be good with the healthy, you know, I don't know. I love fish. I mean, I just think that
Yeah.
the whole health thing is the combination. If the pharmaceutical company was not so big, it's this multi-billion dollar business. And I think that there are a lot of pill pushers out there. There are too many pill pushers.
Well, they created the
Right.
the opiate
They did.
epidemic
They
in this
did.
country.
Mhm.
They created that. They created
know.
it.
It is. It
The
is
doctors
sad.
fueled it. They created it.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't created. People didn't wake up and say, "I'm addicted to opiates."
Right.
Like Vicodin is like they got
yeah.
pushed on that.
It did, yeah.
There was an agenda. They
Yep.
pushed that. You know, like that's.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, it's disclaimer time. We're taking a break in the middle of this. I'm putting the finishing touches on the final interview and resubmitting it to YouTube to see if I can get this to fly. I'm putting a disclaimer in here because this next section is really the section in which YouTube has the censorship over this, and they have the issue with it. I want to make it perfectly clear that she's not, and they're not telling me to say any of this or record any of this. By the way, I'm doing this on my own volition. She's not a doctor. She's not an expert on anything. She's just voicing her opinion. That's all she's doing. That's all she's doing with this. And so I weighed this very heavily, whether just to give in to the robots and say, no, I'm just not going to do it and be like, you know, I'm choosing to try to get this out. And part of my artistic position is I feel like it is being compromised a bit here, but her voice outweighs that. Her voice outweighs that to me. It's more important to me to get out her full interview. It outweighs everything. It's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. Clicks aren't important. Views aren't important. Certainly the censorship and the position of Google and YouTube and the bots, that's definitely not fucking important. The important thing is that her voice is heard. And she's got a super fascinating, interesting story, especially within this context. If you go throughout this whole context, you can see that. So I hope that you've listened to some of it earlier and you continue listening on, but this is the portion in which it becomes controversial, certainly from YouTube's perspective. So I'm trying to work with the robots, not necessarily giving in, or I'm fighting it in my own way here. So that's all I got.
So, yeah, no question about that. All right, so some aspects of the healthcare system. All right, so what a hot topic. I mean, I'll ask you this. This would be a good one to ask.
Oh,
all right?
jeez.
Vaccine.
Oh
Vaccine.
God!
Let's go.
You had to go there.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
I
like,
could talk about this for a million hours. I am.
all right, well,
I'm not anti-vax. I'm not anti-vax. I am anti-plANdEmic vax because there have been enough studies done to know that this so-called vaccine is not really a vaccine. Because first of all, it takes 7 to 10 years to approve a vaccine because you have to study it. There has to be subject. You have to test it on whatever. But right, you can't just make something up in the lab and it be good in a few months. There's a reason why it takes 7 to 10 years to be approved by the FDA, right? This was approved in record time, and there have been over. It's hard to say because the VAERS website I just found out today is only reporting 1% of deaths. And right now VAERS, which is the adverse reaction website that's kind of attached to the CDC, is only reporting like 7,500. Right. But I just got this news article today that said that they're only reporting 1%. So there's supposedly been well over 100,000 deaths from the vaccine. It has horrible side effects. It's not a true vaccine. It's an experimental. And according to a lot of virologists, you will be dead within 3 years if you took the jab, right? So I am anti-COVID vax because what I've read and what I know, it's not a true vaccine.
Has that? All right. So let me back up a little bit. So apply to other vaccines.
I think.
Like, do you believe in the other vaccine? Is it all vaccines?
No, just this one. And this one is not. You cannot, and any doctor, if you were to get one that's honest, or any scientist will agree, for a respiratory virus like COVID, there is no cure. There is no vaccination. That's why there's no cure for the common cold. That's why because you cannot. You cannot vaccine against a respiratory virus. You never have been able to, and you never will. That's why the jab isn't working. That's why it's not working, because you can't. Okay?
Do you think that, what's the purpose? What do you think? Why do you think if people are going to be dead in 3 years, what do you think is the rationale behind that?
Well, there's an agenda, obviously.
Yeah,
starts with the devil. So, in my opinion, where we're at now politically.
Hold on. All right. Just hold your thought.
Freeze frame.
So the question is, so what's the rationale if you believe that that's going to happen?
I think that, and I can't say whether or not this came from the Wuhan. I believe that it is man-made. It is my belief. I think that it was designed by whatever.
Was it done on purpose?
Yes,
I believe it is.
I believe that
it was introduced to society on purpose.
Yep.
By who and why?
So here's my belief. Okay,
right.
I have to go back to the Bible because I feel like everything goes back to that. A lot of things that happen. So I feel that the man-made virus, and the deadly jab, and what happened. I believe also that that our current president is not really our president. I believe that the election was stolen. But I believe that all these things happened and he was able to steal the election, and now this country is weak. We have a weak government. And I think but we're not the only country. All of those things had to happen in order for the prophecies which regarding end times all this stuff had to happen, otherwise that would have never come to fruition. I mean, what's spoken about in the Bible and in the book of Revelation would never be able to happen if all these things did not happen. So I believe that it's just part of the plan, okay? So unfortunately, Satan is the god of this world, okay? So he has a lot of control over people, and I believe that he is behind every bad and negative thing. And so he has a huge influence on people. People don't realize how much control Satan and his angels actually have over people. So he has the ability to but he has to, because there's no way for the 7-year tribulation and then Armageddon to take place if we have a strong government. Like if Trump was in office, what's happening right now in the Middle East with Israel and the Taliban taking over Afghanistan, none of that would have ever happened if we had a strong government. But now Israel has a new ruler. Okay, so Benjamin Netanyahu was the prime minister for how long? Now they've got a new guy in who doesn't know a damn thing about anything, and so they have a weak government. We have a weak government. Look what happened, how the Taliban took. So all these things have to take place in order for the war to happen, which is going to start the 7-year tribulation, because when that happens and the Antichrist comes on scene, we have to be at a place where there has to be that peace treaty that's signed with Israel. Okay, they have to be at war in order for somebody to come along, and save the day. Right. Somebody has to come in and bring peace to the chaos that's going to happen, because before the tribulation is going to be the rapture of the church, and when millions of people disappear and everyone is looking around going, what the hell? And then Israel is at war with Russia and Iran and whoever else is in that war, that Ezekiel 38 war. It's going to be chaos. And that's the perfect time for a political leader who is going to be the Antichrist to come in and make peace for 3.5 years. That's going to be the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. So in order for all that to happen, what's going on in the world right now has to happen. It has to, because it's setting the stage for what's about to take place.
So the 7 years, when has that started?
It has not started, no. So the book of Revelation, while confusing it is if you don't know how to study it, goes about explaining what the 7-year tribulation is going to look like, what's going to happen. So you have your 7 seals, and then you have your 7 trumpet judgments, and then so it goes down the list of what's going to happen. So obviously we've got the wars, and so right now we're in the birth pains of the beginning of what's going to happen. So this is what we're warned about. Like, we're given a warning of what the days are going to be like before the second coming of Christ.
Okay.
We're in that right now if you look at what's happening in the world. So it's not going to get better. What's happening right now is not going to get better.
The 7 years hasn't started yet, but it's precludes it. All right, so back to COVID. Mm-hmm. So if those that take the vaccine, if they die within 3 years, how does that, tell me how that fits in? Because there's a lot of people. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions and millions of people.
So I don't know how true that is. If they do die, if they're saved, then they're going to go to heaven. If they're not going to go to heaven. Okay, but I don't know what's going to happen to those people if they get sick or whatever during the 7-year tribulation, because during that time there's going to be preaching of the gospel by the 2 witnesses and also the 144,000. So it may be that during those 7 years that they're preaching the gospel around the whole globe, that those people that took the jab that are sick and going to die, they might get healed, they might not. I don't know. But I know that the reason for that is because there's going to be a lot more souls saved during the 7-year tribulation, because that is meant for the Jews who rejected Christ. Okay, but that's why the church has to be taken out, because we are the restrainer. The Antichrist can't come on scene to deceive everybody if the church is still here, because the Christians know what he's all about and what he's going to be doing when he comes. And so he can't come while we're still here. That's why I believe in the pre-trib rapture, which is biblical as well. So the church has to be taken out of the way.
So how does the church get taken out?
Rapture. In the twinkling of an eye, boom, it's going to be done. And so that's biblical.
More about that. How does that, what do you mean by that? Explain, help me understand that more.
So
help me understand that more. Because the church is a pretty powerful organization.
Yeah.
Right, it's pretty big.
It is big, right. So
it's pretty big.
Did you ever watch any of the Left Behind movies?
No.
So the really, really old one with Kirk Cameron, and then there was a newer one made, same story. It's about what happens, at the rapture, planes are crashing, right? Trains. I mean, if you think about all the people that suddenly get snatched out and are up in heaven, if they're driving a car or driving a boat or a plane or whatever, it's absolute mayhem. And I've seen both of those movies, and so I'm kind of envisioning what it's going to be like. And to me, it seems like that's exactly what it's going to be like. So millions of people, those who are saved, are going to get taken out, because the Bible is very specific, and it says that we, the church, we are not destined for God's wrath. And that is what the tribulation is. It's God's wrath on the wicked world, the unbelievers, right? So we
So when the
are
old
not.
world, the flood came, and if you
Yes.
didn't get in the ark,
Yep.
you didn't
Right.
believe in Noah, then
Exactly.
you're going to perish.
Yeah, and so
So it's the same.
you grew up Catholic, so you probably know some scripture. It says, as in the days of Noah, so shall be. So we're supposed to be looking for the same things. What happened in the days of Noah before the flood came?
Right.
He spent how many 100 and whatever years building the ark? He was trying to tell everybody what's coming, and no one believed him. So
Right.
only
Right.
7 people went on that
Right.
ark, right? The
Right.
rest were like, yeah, you're crazy.
Right.
People are going about their day, their everyday life, which is exactly what people are doing
Today.
now. They're not paying attention to what's happening around the globe, And the church isn't preaching on end time, on biblical prophecy, which I don't know why they're not, but most of them are not teaching on that. So a lot of Christians, while they may be Christians, they don't know that we're getting really, really close to the end times. They don't, because they don't know biblical prophecy, because it's not taught in most churches. So people don't know. I wouldn't have known had I not saw a YouTube video and been like, huh?
Right.
And started digging in, and then I'm reading.
YouTube, man.
Right. I mean, I kind of feel like
YouTube.
it's
Why am
been it's helpful for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I think the fact that technology has gotten as big as it is today is helpful, but I think it's also going to be the downfall of mankind, because I don't know if you've seen the video on the giant. Have you seen that?
No.
You should check that out. That came on one of my YouTube channels. It's this. People are saying that they believe it's probably going to be, because it's scheduled to be built and erected in a lot of big cities. It's
What is
this
it?
giant.
Giant what? Just
It's
a
this
giant?
thing called the giant. You
Like
gotta
a
watch. You gotta
dude?
watch the
Like-
video.
Like
It's
a giant, like a man. Like
it is
like
a person.
statue
It is a
man?
person. It is a statue, and
Okay.
you
Like
can
a giant
for a
Buddha?
price.
All right.
Yeah, go into the little box and have your face put on this. And so a lot of people believe that
It almost
the
sounds like
Antichrist is going to use
indulgences.
that. It is. It's going to be.
You pay for it, you get it.
Yep. But it's got a lot of features on it, and so when you watch the commercial on the giant, you look at it and you're immediately mesmerized by it, and you're like, oh. So I think that technology, so that's coming. They'll start building them during the 7 year. I think it's probably going to come, because at some point I'm thinking that's probably going to be the beast that you're going to be required to worship. The beast is going to be in every city, right? Because if he can put his face on that giant, which is a person made, right?
Right.
You can put anyone's face on it.
Right.
What the perfect way to worship the beast is to have the Antichrist put his face on that giant, which is in every city in every state. Oh, it's crazy. It's just one of those things. So,
What do you say? You know what they say about the technology is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that technology, these algorithms that are in everything that's online, that the algorithm feeds its user. So it doesn't matter who you are or whatever it is, that you keep getting this feedback loop, and
Right.
whatever you do, you keep seeing the same stuff.
Yeah.
That you're not exposed to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's true? Do you think that's true? Because what do you think?
I think that type of technology that does things like that is geared in a not positive way, but in a negative way, to keep us focused and involved in things that separate us from doing
It's
what
isolating
God wants
us.
us to do. It does.
It's isolating us.
Yep.
So, if you believe one thing, you're here, and it's you can't understand anybody else because you're in your own thing, and
Right.
then they're over here, and they just keep listening and understanding their stuff.
Right.
And they can't see anybody else's things.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like all these little miniature idols, and I think that anything that occupies a lot of your time, that takes you away from other things, is an idol. I mean, people are addicted to video games, and they're, you know what I mean?
Everything,
they're
right?
addicted
It doesn't
to
matter what it
right,
is.
right. So I think that those
Cars,
things,
anything, whatever.
right. That is why I kind of was saying technology, in one way, can be good. If you think about the fact that now these, especially when COVID came, a lot of churches were closed, and so if you think about, a lot of these churches went online,
And you
and
can
how many
still
people,
worship.
right? How many people around the world, if you had internet, the gospel could still be reached to these faraway places because of the internet, because of technology. And then, with churches being closed during COVID, people could still worship and still go to church because you had online. But even before that, you were still able to reach other, countries or whatever because of technology, because we have the internet, because we have TV, because we have cell phones, because we have FaceTime, whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think in a lot of other areas too, it is going to be our downfall. Technology.
Well, I don't think you're alone in that. There's a lot of people, I think, super intelligent people that I think are super intelligent, believe that if we don't get some control over it, it is going to control us. I mean, it is completely
for
going
sure.
to, or if we don't work together with technology,
Yep.
it is going to control us. And we have to figure out a way to work with technology and not either in or against it or allow it to control. You got to work with it.
Right.
There's a balance. There's a balance. Like your spine, there's a balance to it.
Yep. Yeah.
If you're not balanced, then there's going to be challenges and problems with it.
Yeah, I think there's some really smart people out there, and they're talking about holograms and just a lot of stuff that to me seems evil and wrong. And artificial intelligence. I think that all that stuff is really just kind of the workings of Satan, and it's just meant to destroy mankind. If you look at, and I don't think any parent out there can disagree with the fact that when video games came out, and now that there's almost no filter. I mean, you've got these horrific video games of blood and gore, and you've got these 5 and 6 year olds that are attached to the TV for hours on end, and you cannot tell me that has not had a negative impact on violence in today's world, especially with our younger kids. I mean,
and that's been going on for a long time.
It has.
That's not something like last year.
No.
Right?
It's been going on for all, but it's gotten worse as the years have gone on, and as technology has gotten better, and they've been able to get better at these video games, right? They're so real. I look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks legit.
So we compete with these computers, and like our brain is. They say we only use like 10% of our capacity of our brain, right?
Yeah.
It's like 10%,
right?
And I think they might say we use a little bit more today, but generally speaking, the use of our brains hasn't increased significantly over the last 2,000, 5,000, 12,000 years.
Right.
There just hasn't.
Right.
I mean, a little bit more when we were cavemen. Maybe it was 5% of the brain. But it's not like we're using 80% of our brain power.
Right.
Yet, exponentially, the use of computers and technology has just went bananas in the last 20 years. Say,
Right.
Where it's gotten huge, and we're just like these dumb
robots
bees that are just here, just like, and we're turning into robots in some sense.
Yes, absolutely.
And we want everything else to be thought of. No critical thinking's going on.
Right.
And it's we want them to do everything. We want the computers to do everything for us. And with that, though, we lose control.
Yeah.
We're losing control of that.
I mean, I think if you had a balance, it'd be great, but I don't think that there is. I think that if you were to look at what we're capable of and what we could be capable of, it more, leans on the side of just being the demise of humanity.
Or is it relative? Is it relative to, like, what after World War II, the Greatest Generation came about because of that, and and then everything was super happy, right? Life was incredible because we defeated the Nazis, and it was incredible, and so many babies were born, and but they had hard times, though. It wasn't so awesome.
No,
they had really hard times. I mean, is what we're going through today relative to our time?
Yes, I believe that it is. But if you were to think, if we were to take like God, religion, heaven, hell, the devil, if we were to take that off the table and just look at how over the past couple hundred years things have excelled, right? Technology and all the other stuff, right? If it were to keep going
At that pace.
right, like you're looking at
How do-
artificial intelligence, think of how many jobs these things are going to be able to do, that it's going to take over the jobs that humans do and get paid for to,
But-
you know what I mean? Like,
But do
what's
we go
gonna
back
happen?
to the horse and buggy though? Do we go back to
No,
the delivering
no.
mail on a horse?
No,
Like-
because you
like-
can't go back. We just have to
No,
continue to go forward. But I think it's gotten so extreme right now and so out of control that and now I have to bring God back into it, because we wouldn't be able to keep going like that. I mean, this
So-
world would implode. Like, look what's happening. I don't know if you've ever noticed these lines in the sky that are not dissipating. They're staying, and then they're spreading out into clouds. Okay, they're spraying the air with poison, and so it's poisoning.
Who is? Wait, back that up a little bit. Hold on. Back
Have you ever seen, like, if you just look up in the sky one day, right? There's these long lines. It looks like a contrail from a plane. It's called
Like, yeah, the jet
Right,
stream from
right.
jet trail.
Yes, and so
The
those
vapor
are
trails, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, those are contrails.
Contrail.
They don't stay up there long. They disappear, right? They don't stay up there for hours,
Right,
right?
right, it dissipates.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's other lines that you see up in the sky, sometimes many of them, and they stay. And like you look up 20 minutes later and you're like, dang, that thing is still there, but now it's kind of spreading out, and you look up 30 minutes later, oh, spread out even more, and now there's a cloud. Now there's a whole bunch of these lines in the sky, and they spread out. Now there's this icky, smoggy looking covering. There's no more blue sky. Now it just looks gray. Those are chemtrails, and they've been
Right.
spraying for years and years.
Who do you think is they?
Government.
Our government is?
Yep. So they've been doing cloud seeding, which is not chemtrails. Cloud seeding is different. That's when they put chemicals in the clouds to make it rain, okay? That's cloud seeding, and that's been around since the 40s or 50s. I
Okay.
did do research on that. That is supposed to be good, I guess, for the farmers. If we need rain, they can go in and put a couple different things in the clouds, right? And
Okay.
it makes it rain. That is not the chemtrails. That's not those trails you see that go up there and spread out and are
I'm going
poisoning.
to actively look now.
You should,
Because
you
I've,
should.
I've never seen that before, and that doesn't mean that they're not there.
Yeah, I never noticed either.
I don't know.
This guy that I started dating several years ago, he turned me on to it, and ever since he told me about it, when there's lines in the sky, I look and I pay attention. I'm like, wow, that thing's been there for 20 minutes. That is a chemtrail. It is not just, and sometimes you see, you can
Right.
go on the internet and search chemtrails. You'll see pictures of the sky in like the UK, or it's all over the world, where it looks like a freaking checkerboard. They're everywhere. They're spraying crazy. And there's
Why?
it's
Tell me
chemicals.
why. Why are they doing that?
So
What's the point?
I read a couple different versions. One of them said it's the way they're trying to, they think that the sun is damaging the earth. And so they're trying to put this layer between the sun and the earth to protect it. So they're spraying that shit, those chemicals, and it creates those clouds. It just creates this thing between the sun and the earth, supposedly to protect it. I don't know whether or not that's true. That's just what I read. Regardless, they're chemicals, and I think that it's making people sick. Okay, so there are some, if YouTube hasn't flagged it yet, there are some pilots. They're no longer pilots because they quit their jobs, because when they found out what the government was doing, they quit. But there are some pilots out there that will say, yes, chemtrails, it is a thing, it is real, the government is in control, and this is what it's doing. It's poisoning the entire world. So I watched a couple, this was a couple years ago, so I don't know if they're still up on YouTube.
Okay.
If you can find them, great. If not, I mean, I think that's another thing that people need to be educated on. Those things, they're not from the regular planes. If they're staying up there in the sky,
Right.
it's a chemtrail and it's poison.
All right.
So pay attention now that
All
you
right.
know. Look, and I bet you'll get a call from you in like a week or two. Be like, Jennifer, you're
All
right.
right. I'm gonna look now. No. I mean, like, I'm fascinated and mildly disturbed and scared all at the same time right now.
Yeah. Well, the government itself is disturbing, and I've learned so much in a very short period of time about that.
So, I mean, is it suffice it to say a fair statement that you don't believe in the government? You don't believe in your government?
I believe we have a government. I believe that they're all evil.
All of them? Yeah, like
99.9%.
I think that they're very self-serving.
Right. Like, what are they doing for humanity?
They have an agenda, and so they're pretty self-serving. I think they wrap that up sometimes. That they say that they are, but I'm not sure that the government really truly represents the people.
No, they don't.
They don't really. I don't think they really represent them.
No.
People certainly like they did or supposed to, and that's that's what we need them to do.
I think back in the day, maybe
democracy.
Right, we had some good presidents that did care about our country and the people, but there weren't a lot. For the most part, most of those career politicians.
Yeah, their career.
Right.
Why we don't have term limits is unfathomable to me. I mean, the president has a term limit.
Yeah, everyone else should as well in the government.
Everybody else is just a free for all.
It's pathetic.
But they're never gonna vote. They're never gonna.
No.
I mean, there are some senators that have tried to put a bill through, but it's been squashed.
It's never
but
gonna
basically, it's their own death.
Yeah.
Really, it's
right. They're not going to vote for themselves to have a term limit.
Just to get out after 8 years or what have you.
Yeah.
So it's too bad that we encourage that as a society.
Yeah.
We continue to do that. So we need to do a little better job at that maybe, and voting people in that are. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that's the answer, but
I think
got a long way to go.
And I don't know if it would ever. I think it's too late.
So we went from health and we went to we ventured
touched a little on politics.
Yeah, right. So
told you how I felt about the fake jab and the masks and that they don't work.
Yep.
And it's so frustrating for me to see all these people still wearing the masks when they know there's been proven. Any doctor will tell you. I mean, and to me, it's common sense. Like,
but if you're ugly and have bad breath, is a mask okay?
It is. Yeah, it is. It is.
If you're not attractive and your breath is horrible.
Yeah, mask probably would be good.
Then we're okay then.
You would be okay, yeah. I think it's detrimental to your health. I mean, do your own reading, do your own research. To me, a lot of things are common sense. Like, do you have any idea how big any virus is? It's microscopic. And if you think that little piece of cloth is going to stop it from entering your stupid.
They did originally come out and say for months that they said, no, don't wear a mask.
Yes.
Because they had an agenda. Because the agenda was that, well, it could be many things. There wasn't enough masks.
Right. Yeah.
And then when there was, it was like, okay, let's get wear them. But
now we're 2 or 3.
Each his own. I don't know. Again, if you have bad breath and you're ugly, I'm good with it. Just wear that damn thing.
I think if you're sick.
It's bad for ugly people. But.
I mean, I think if you're sick with anything, I don't care what it is. If you want to wear a mask to help prevent the spread of what you got, great. Is it 100% effective? No. But if you're not sick, it's not going to do a damn thing for you. Right. And especially if you're sitting in your car by yourself, take your...
What if you're outside jogging by yourself?
I hate that. Yeah, I'm telling you. You can ask my daughter. It all drives me crazy. And I'm always saying, oh my God, take off your mask. You're in a car by yourself. Yeah. Anyways.
Sometimes I think people forget, though. I think they go in stores and then I think they come out and they're so used to wearing it. I think they forget. Maybe I'm just choosing to believe that because it does seem odd when you're by yourself.
Yeah, and it could be because they're so used to it being on that they don't even notice anymore.
Let's pick some. What else we got on that board?
Let's talk about either love, relationships, or marriage.
Love and
you
marriage
can probably
go
tie it all
together if you're married with children, right? I mean, that's the old Frank Sinatra song, "Love and Marriage."
Yeah.
That's whatever. Comedy can be in that too.
Yeah. Right.
Right. There's a lot that could be wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
Whatever you pick it, and then
we can make that a big blanket conversation, right? Love, relationships, marriage. What else falls under that?
We can intertwine them all together and just see where it goes.
I mean, I don't know if I have a lot of
experience. We got.
I don't know if
40 seconds, so that's as good. This is a good time. This is a perfect transition. It's a perfect transition. So
I'm gonna be probably bah humbug on that subject. I don't know that I have anything positive
you're
to
gonna
say
be a
about it.
negative
But
Nelly about
probably
love, marriage, and what else? And
love and relationships.
relationships.
Well, yeah, all of maybe. I don't know. Not 100%. Maybe 80% of
do
it.
whatever you want.
Maybe. Okay.
Whatever.
You'll be like, oh my god, I have to spend 8 hours editing Jennifer's shit. God,
Well, here's
gracious.
Here's how it goes. Here's how, like, I'll do something like a trailer that'll be like 3 minutes, because like 5 minutes is just too much for people. They're like, I don't watch it.
Yeah,
you know?
no,
It'll be like a 3-minute trailer.
right.
But then, for the most part, I mean, I'm not gonna edit too much. You know, like there'll be a little bit of editing. You know, but I'll put the final out there that, I mean, it's your voice. You know.
Right.
I mean, unless there's something that you really want for sure, like, yeah, I'll fucking put that in there.
Oh.
If there is something that's like major, then I don't know. I mean, I guess I assume that you wouldn't say it.
I wouldn't.
I mean, you seem
Right.
like you're a pretty open and honest person.
Yeah. If there was, I just wouldn't speak it out loud if I didn't want the world to know about it.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't talk about
Right.
it. So, yeah, oh god, I'm glad I don't have my own talk show because
I don't know. This is pretty fascinating. Yeah. Like I said, it's like fascinating and.
You've learned a thing or two from me. You learned about the chemtrails
Yeah.
that you said you're gonna watch for. So,
I'll
I mean,
look
if
into
I
that
can,
and do a little education on.
yeah, if I can turn someone on to something that I think would be beneficial for them, then, you know,
All right.
yeah, I want to be helpful in any way that I can.
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
It challenges me.
good.
You know, I mean, so
That's good.
that's what's kind of cool.
Okay.
I dig it. You know, that's what I dig about it.
I like that.
I personally think that's the point in life. Let's challenge each other.
That was funny you said that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So why is that funny? Tell me.
Well, because that reminded me of something that I said to my parents about a boy that I dated that they really liked. And I was just like, I literally use that as one of my handful of reasons, because he doesn't challenge me. You know what I mean? And I think that that's necessary, because I mean, if you're just gonna sit there and not have conversations about anything, or what are you doing?
Yeah. So that's that's a great, and I think that I'm not sure we do that today because we live in our bubbles, and but people are afraid to talk about how they feel about something because the other people are going to think they're wrong. I mean, like, we don't have to agree on things.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because I don't agree with you on some things.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you a lot on a lot of things.
Right.
But my personal belief is that as human beings, if we can sit and talk through these things, maybe we can walk away from a conversation and just think maybe. And I'm not trying. I wouldn't want to try to convince you something. And what I like is I don't feel like you're trying to convince me. Like, you're not trying to change me as a person.
Right.
And you seem accepting. Like when you said that about the vax, that was interesting. Where you're like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I have my beliefs, and these are my beliefs, and this is what I think. And I think that's awesome. I think that's freaking awesome. Whether I believe it or not is completely irrelevant, and this isn't about me. But I think that tolerance is important, and we don't have tolerance for each other today.
Right.
Everybody wants to fight, kill each other, and put them in jail, and sue them, and hurt somebody else because they don't believe the way that they believe.
Right.
And it's kind of like, when do we get to that freaking point? Like we should be able to have two separate opinions and belief systems and be able to talk and still be able to live together.
Right.
And still be able to, doesn't have to be in perfect harmony, but certainly better harmony than we live today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one of probably, in my opinion, a handful of reasons why divorce is so high. I mean, if you look at people who are the age of our parents, like why my parents are still married, things.
Yeah, because here we go. We're going to get into that.
Yeah,
the next
right.
subject will be marriage. Let's just say marriage.
What?
And love. and then partner relationship. All right.
Right,
So
yeah.
Just for the audience,
Right,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, yep.
We're getting into that, those
Right,
three. All right,
yeah.
so go ahead. Why is the
'Cause
divorce rate so high?
Well,
And it is. It's higher than it's ever been.
Well, it's become, oh my God, so easy in this day and age for people to walk away from the responsibility of marriage or parenthood, you know? It wasn't like it was when our parents got married back in the 40s or 50s, you know what I mean? I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the sexual revolution or after the war, whatever the case may be, but I kind of feel like there was like a flip, like a switch, you know what I mean? Everything just changed, and people were different, and relationships were different, and some things weren't as important as they were back in the day. But I think, you know, and I've talked with my mom and dad, because they are, to me, my best teachers if I want to know about relationships, not really in this day, but back then, like, how is it that you guys are still married? I mean, the problems that they went through are the same as the problems, for the most part, that people go through today. I mean, you've got two separate individuals living under the same roof, sharing a life together, and they have their own, you know, how do you come together and stay together without being like, you know,
right.
You don't agree with me, I'm out, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think that is how people are today. It's just become really, really easy.
They just
don't
go, fuck you, and run away.
Right, yeah. But they didn't do it back then, you know what I mean? No one wants to tough it out and be respectful to the other person, and just try to live in harmony and have our own separate ideas about things, but still have respect for each other and want to share a life together instead of, you know what I mean? But I don't think that people are not, they're just
because you go down the road together doesn't mean you have to go like this.
Right.
You can go down the road together like this
right.
as individuals.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with everything and be that other person.
Right.
You don't have to be that other person.
Yeah. And there's so many outside influences, I think, as well, that we have nowadays that we didn't have back then. I think pornography is a huge, huge, huge problem.
And it's
for
super
everyone.
Prevalent, right?
I mean, I could go on and on about that, but that's like a big umbrella with a lot of things underneath it as well. So we'll just say that that's a problem. Causes a lot of relationship issues, a lot of divorces, a lot of distrust, and then you've got that whole other thing. So I think that there are things that are going on in the world today that weren't back then. I don't think, obviously, back in the 40s and 50s, or what was the worst thing that you saw on TV? A little bit of cleavage, you know? And now look, we've got full-on nudity during daytime television that our kids are seeing. I mean, you know, it's just gone, just nothing positive, you know what I mean? I kind of feel like it's all been negative, and that's what's caused relationships and marriages to crumble like they do so quickly, you know, and so often, which is unfortunate, because who really suffers in the end because of that?
Well, the kids do.
Exactly.
And the individuals do it.
They do, but we're bringing up a new generation, you know, since then, and look at all the kids that grow up in homes with one parent. Usually they live with the mom, you know what I mean? So there's no father figure, there's no dad in their life, and most dads, when they walk away and they don't come back. There's very few that I know of. I mean, I can't say that I have a number. I don't know what the statistics are, but not many come back and are involved in their children's lives. And I think that has an impact on the kids when they grow up and become adults.
I think that is. Why do you think? Do you feel like we've dumbed down men in this society? Do you think our boys have been dumbed down in that? I mean, I'll just leave it there, and then I'm going to follow it up with
I can't say that I know why when people get divorced and the dads leave, they don't really come back. Because being a mom, I know that when my kids every once in a while would go with their dad, which wasn't that often, but when they would, I know that at the end of like that day or two that they were gone, I was dying and I couldn't wait to see them again, because I missed the hell out of them. So I cannot understand the mentality of a parent who can not want to see their children. I don't know.
Has to do with that they, you know, like the baby came out of you, so it was part of you.
Right.
That has something to do. I'm not saying the only thing, but
Right.
that so there's that
More of a connection.
There's an immense. Yeah, there's an immense. 'Cause
Yeah,
there has
yes,
to be.
yes.
Where guys are kind of like, well, you know, like, I'm out, you know. And
It could, yes. I mean, it's very possible.
So it's easier. There's maybe not that as much. I don't know. I'm throwing darts a little bit here. I don't know. But it seems like it might be easier that way. But and also that, like, like women really haven't had. They certainly don't have equal rights. They haven't had equal rights, or even closer to. I mean, they do have more today than they've had in the past 2,000 years.
Yep.
But that they've gotten more, and as society has opened up more to try to become more equal, that the men aren't sure like where their place is.
Right.
Like they're like, I don't know what my role is. I used to be caveman.
Yeah.
I walk around.
Yeah.
I beat the animal in the head and bring it home. You know. So I don't know anything. I go work. I provide. I don't know anything else. You know. And now all of a sudden, like my wife can do that. The woman can do that.
Yep.
So what do I don't know. Like, you know. And so there's the men could they be?
I didn't think about that.
That they're trying to understand their role. And it's hard, you know, and really it's changed. My opinion, I think it's changed a lot in the last 30 years, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It's really since the 80s, like it's really changed.
Yep.
As opposed to where it was from like the time of the 20s up until the 80s, where it was probably pretty much the fucking same.
Right.
And you had pockets where women had some, you know, power. Very little, if any.
But mostly they were homemakers.
They're homemakers, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you had Rosie the Riveter in World War II, which is awesome. But, like, for the most part, there really wasn't any advancement for women's rights from that time.
Right.
And then you go from, like, the 80s to now, and there's been way more. I mean, there's been more. Obviously, it's not equal.
Right.
I don't know if it ever will be equal. I don't know what equal looks like. I don't even know. But there's been a much more of a change in the last 3 decades.
Yep.
And do you think that maybe men are just like, I don't know how to fit into this. I don't know, like I stay home now. And I'm not saying that they don't like it, because I think some men do. I'm like, okay, it fits and stuff, but like they just don't know. I'm not giving that as an excuse. I'm not saying that's why men aren't involved.
Yeah.
The dynamic has changed. It's evolving, in good or bad, I don't know. But it's evolving, and you can't help to wonder if there's confusion there, and it's hard. They don't understand.
I think that could be a bigger reason for divorce. A lot of men who have issues with their ego and
emasculated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as far as wanting to be involved in your son or daughter, to me it's like.
Yeah. Okay, that's you're right. It's a kind of a separate issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how a parent can walk away from even in divorce. I get out of sight, out of mind. I get that, but you have to really, then if that's the case, you have to really make a concerted effort to have regular communication with your children and make sure that if you got to set a reminder on your dang phone, I guess do so, right? To see them once a week. So, you know what I mean? I know people are so busy now, you know, with their, just even in the last 20 whatever years, busy with their life, busy with their career, busy with school, busy with whatever, their extracurricular activities. I get that, but your kids need direction and guidance and parents.
These little brains
need
to be molded.
Yeah,
they need massage. They need love.
Yeah,
they
need role models. I mean, how are you going to teach your son how to be a dad if you're not there?
They're going to look somewhere else for it. They're going to look to TV, video games, athletes, whatever, whoever. They're going to look to that for that.
Right.
And that's not always the best place to look, although sometimes it is.
And sometimes it's better than nothing. I mean, I know statistically speaking there are, and I heard on the radio the other day statistics about kids that grow up without a dad. They're this much percentage more likely, or to whatever. And the numbers were staggering to me, like about dropping out of school and getting into drugs and having a criminal record. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, the percentage of those kids that were likely to be that way or because they grew up without a dad, it was heartbreaking for me. I thought, how sad is that they didn't even really have an opportunity to be what they should have been for the simple fact that they did not have a role model. They did not have a father in the home, or in some cases a mother. You know what I mean? And it was horrible. And I feel like it's our fault. It's our fault because we couldn't stay together and be a mom and a dad to our children. They grew up not knowing, and a lot of them rebelled, and you know what I mean? They couldn't handle life, so they get into drugs. I mean, I'm not saying that
a lot of them do that when the parents are together.
I agree. But the number of those that come from divorced families that
the
don't
risk
have
is
any relationship.
probably a little bit lower. I'd say that it's a little bit more lower, but it's no guarantee.
No, there's never a
Parents
guarantee.
can stay together and it can be toxic.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's the problem. There's such little respect nowadays between people.
Right. That's
Everybody.
That's an awesome.
Friends.
Right.
Relationships, parents, kids, teachers, bosses. It does whatever.
Strangers that
Right.
like are sitting down and talking, and it's like you gotta like if you don't agree with everything, so it doesn't matter. But let's have some open discourse
Right.
and go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more tolerance would be good across the board.
Yes.
Right? Whatever it is, tolerance would be good.
Yeah.
What was? How old were you when you first fell in love?
Well, I guess that would have been the person that I ended up getting married to. So
Okay.
that would be high school.
Okay.
But of course, I kind of feel like, I don't know, do you really even know what love
I guess
is?
you have to define love. All right.
Right.
So
and
let's
I
back
don't.
up then. Let's define love.
Yeah.
Well, define love. What's love to you? What's love mean? Define love in how's this? Define love in one word. Yeah, one word. What's the first word? Just do one word.
One word?
Yeah, one word. Then you can go on.
Okay.
Expand, but what's one word?
Selflessness.
That's a pretty fucking good word. In my opinion, that's a great word. That's pretty sweet.
I mean, and I never.
Even love for it could be love for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right? It could be
Yeah.
love for anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you take care, selflessness meaning that you take care, you're taking care of whatever it is.
Right. I think that if you care more about someone else than you do yourself, that means that you're always putting them before you. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like almost where can you go wrong? You know what I mean? But we're so damn selfish and self-centered. We've become that way over the course of, I don't know, I feel like it's been going on for a while, but I just kind of feel like that's such a huge problem. It's difficult then to say if you're with somebody, do you love them? Are you sure?
Right.
Or are you in love with the idea of being in love? Or do you love the fact that they have all these things that they can offer you? Somebody said that to me the other night when I was with Alicia. We were out, that subject came up, and that kind of hit home. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So I think, I don't know. I think people get married for the wrong reasons. They say they're in love or they fall in love for the wrong reasons. It's not really love, it's something else, but true love.
Right.
Like you see in someone who's 98 years old and they've been married since they were 18, you know what I mean? And they're walking hand in hand.
So let me just dial that in just a little bit, see if I got this right. Aside from a relationship, love for your kids would probably be the easiest way to define that, right? Because it's like obviously you die for your kids if you had it, right? It's selfless. You just do it.
Right. Unconditional is what that is,
no conditions, yeah.
Yep.
And then, but with a significant other, it's a relationship, marriage, it's different. It can be different, and it's a little bit, and I think as it gets older and time goes on, it maybe gets harder to do that, or maybe it gets easier. I don't know.
You mean to stay married?
To have that kind of love, to feel that love, to say, I feel that love. I feel that complete selflessness love.
I would say it would probably depend on the individual. Just because you've been married to somebody for 30 years doesn't mean you love them to the point that you would lay down your life for them, or you know what I mean, or that you would go hungry for them. Some people stay married for that long because they've become complacent.
Sure.
And it's a hassle to get divorced, and I gotta split, for the convenience, they stay.
Right.
I can look at my mom and dad and I can say that is definitely not the case. Definitely not the case. My mom and dad truly love each other and care for each other and are tolerant, and they're separate individuals, but they have respect for each other. My dad has always been a good provider for my mom, and my mom has been a fantastic wife to my dad. And they have respect for each other, you know what I mean? So I don't know that that's the case with all marriages, and since I've not been married for longer than 2.5 or 3 years, I can't speak from my own experience, but I can speak from what I've seen in other people and what I've heard stories from other people,
56 years.
So,
is that right? 56 or 58?
I think 58.
58. That's a long time.
Yeah. Yes,
That's
it is.
I think you get to that point where there's no return. Certainly. That's a long time.
Yeah. But I know people, that got divorced after 40 some years, and I feel like, why would you do that now? You've been married for 43 years, and why are you getting divorced now? You're
been fighting the good fight that
58 years
long.
old.
Why don't you keep fighting?
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. What else? Let's go. What else you got? Pick a number.
Let's.
You want to touch on drugs?
Let's.
All right. Let's talk drugs, because that's. You seem like you got a lot of experience with that.
Well,
Yourself
enough
personally
to be
and seeing others.
Yep. To be able to talk about it and tell what I know and what I see and what I've experienced. And
you want to talk about yourself first? I'd like to talk about you first. What's your lens and your perspective on drugs based on your experience, which is?
So I was kind of a wussy in high school. I tried pot a few times. I had a bad experience in high school, and so I was a little bit of a baby, late bloomer in a lot of ways going through school. So I didn't really get into it or try it until I was in my early 20s, and it was more of a kind of a peer pressure thing. So I was divorced at that point. My kids were little, and somebody new that I'd met asked me if I wanted to try it, and I did, and I didn't really like it the first couple times. It kind of made me sick. So meth was my
first outside weed.
Yeah, aside from a little bit of pot, in high school, which I didn't really like. But then after I got over the initial, it kind of makes me feel sick to my stomach, then I loved it. And it didn't take long before it took a toll on my health, and so
How old were you? When did you try it?
I want to say I was probably 22-ish, 22, 23.
Okay.
Probably 22, I think.
Okay.
And so what I liked about it was that I didn't eat, so I got down to a size 5, and so,
so maybe skinny, so that was good.
It wasn't sickly skinny, but I was like, ooh,
did it fuck
good
you
in
up?
my mini
Did it fuck your
skirt.
skin up in your teeth and
No.
stuff?
No. I never got that deep in it for that long.
Yeah, that was my next question. How long did you do it?
So off and on for 3 to 4 years, off and on.
All right.
Off and
that's a
on.
long time.
Yeah. So probably more off than on. In 1994, which is when I moved from California to Minnesota, I had a boyfriend, off and on boyfriend, who was a user.
Right.
But strangely enough, he was able to use and then go to bed, eat, do, it didn't have the same kind of effect on him that it had on most people who would stay up for days, you know what I mean, if they did enough. He would go home and go to bed. But regardless, it was a abusive relationship. He was physically abusive, and I whatever, was dumb and stayed, and he used to. So I think I'm glad and I'm grateful that I moved, because I got away from that crowd. And that during that time between 92 and 94, I was that was probably my heaviest usage. I didn't use daily, but my new friends, they all used. some more heavily than others.
So that's tough when the crowd around
Yep.
you. It's not like you're alone and just
Right.
one person, and maybe you can get away from it. It's tough when you got
Yes.
a crowd.
Yep.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
How'd you beat it?
Well, I moved. I moved to Minnesota in
That was it.
94. I used once because my boyfriend
You just cold
came.
turkey.
Yeah. Yep.
No clinic, no nothing.
No.
Oh shit.
I had a couple bad experiences. Like I was rushed to the hospital on a few occasions, and I guess I'm glad my body has never been real tolerant of any kind of drugs or alcohol. Like I'm really kind of a wuss, right? So too much abuse to my body and some horrible things happen, right? So the few times that I had to have, an ambulance come pick me up and take me in and rehydrate me was because I did, a couple lines of dope that day or the night before, and I didn't drink enough water, and so I became dehydrated. So my blood pressure was bottoming out.
Right.
And
But you cold turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, you just
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just-
Yep.
You were like, I'm done. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, and yeah. So I didn't really have a lot of huge withdrawals because I wasn't like a daily user. You know what I mean? So it was a little bit tough. It was tough because I got accustomed to that extra energy that it gave me,
Right.
and I did like that. Like my house was spotless
Right.
all the time,
You were
right?
on it.
I was on it all the time, and I had fun because I was never by myself. I was always with friends, usually girls, right?
Yeah, when you're doing it by yourself, it's
never
a different
did.
mindset
Yeah.
because I think it's way harder to kick then because you're it's just so
Probably,
easy to
yeah.
be by yourself.
Yep.
But when you have that support, well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword when you have people around you.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. It makes it worse, but it can make it better.
Yep.
But
So-
that's good.
Yeah, and I'm grateful because I think if I hadn't have moved, I'd have stayed in that relationship, and I'd be dead right now.
Yeah.
So I either would have died at the hands of my boyfriend,
No.
or drugs would have ate me up.
So you quit cold turkey, which is admirable, right? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was glad to get away from it. It very easily could have taken over my life. I mean, nothing tragic had happened yet, I was having a good time, with my friends.
Right.
It was fun.
But
We did some crazy shit.
you can see,
But, yeah.
can't you? You can see how it can turn
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Yeah. Yep.
You lose anybody, friends in that? Did you ever talk to the circle of those friends?
Well,
Again?
that's a funny. Actually, yes. The one girl that gave it to me and that I partied with in the beginning, at that time when our relationship split, she was like, I had nightmares about her. It was that bad.
Really?
It was that bad. She was horrible, and she also had a drinking problem. So she did it a lot more than I did. She was in an abusive relationship with her husband. I could go on and on about her. But what I can say about her today is that even all this time, like, she's still in California. She went from, I think she was renting, a townhouse with her husband. She now is remarried. She lives in this big, beautiful house in California. She is no longer an addict. She's a Christian, and I've learned a lot from her. She's been a blessing to me. Her name's Allison, in case you're watching. She's been a blessing. She's a wonderful person, and so she came out of it. She got clean and sober. She divorced that guy. She became born again. She's a Christian. She's wonderful, and she has a better life now. Another person I know was a guy that I kind of dated. He got off of it, and he owns his own business in Bakersfield.
That's awesome.
My high school friend, she got off of it, and so did her ex-husband. They're both clean and sober.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I do know people that
Freaking
did.
awesome stories.
Yes.
That's good.
Right.
That's pretty
Yeah.
happy stuff,
I'm.
man.
Yep.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
happy for all of them. Yes.
That's great.
Logan,
That's good stuff. Because it goes sideways for
It can.
many,
Yeah. Yep.
many tons of people.
Yeah.
And it's tragic and sad
Yeah.
and horrific and it just stinks. It just stinks.
Yeah. It's such a. I think any drug. Some are worse than others, but it's hard to break away from that. Doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter what it is. If you self-medicate,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter.
Alcohol,
Pick
too.
Alcohol,
Mhm, yeah.
ooh, weed too. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
I mean, kids today, they self-medicate
Yep.
because they got anxiety
Yeah.
and they got depression, and it's like it's sad. I feel so bad sometimes for the kids, and,
Yeah.
and they look to that to self-medicate, and
Yeah.
it does help them, and I also think that weed is different today than it was when we grew up. It's different.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And it's not as evil, but it's also or portrayed that way, or the perception of it, I should say. But like anything in life, balances to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like your spine, you balance everything.
Yeah.
Everything's balanced.
I mean, I don't know that I could ever say anything negative about weed. I mean, I have smoked it off and on, very off, off and on for the last several years because both my boys think it's a great alternative for my sleep disorder.
Yeah.
They both were like, "Ma, you just need to smoke some weed before you go to bed instead of popping those
And it works.
prescription pills." And it kind of did, but I still have a zero tolerance for drugs. It made me feel sick to my stomach, so I couldn't really use that as a way to relax and sleep.
What?
So
Well,
whatever.
it could be because you have done other drugs that are way heavier
could
than
be.
that,
Mhm.
and that your body it just says, hey, look, I
Not
got
again.
the tolerance. The tolerance ain't there for it,
Right,
know.
yeah. Yeah. But I know
so-
people that smoke it for medical reasons,
Yeah, medical, yeah.
and it helps them a great deal, and they don't have to take their prescription drugs. Yay, great. You know what I mean? There's a reason why now medicinal marijuana is legal in a lot of places. Do a lot of people abuse it? Absolutely.
They abuse alcohol.
But does it help thousands of people? I believe that
People
it does.
abuse a lot of stuff. I agree. I think it helps millions of people. And,
Yeah.
and the fact that to me personally, again, it's not about me. But my opinion is that it's a huge political thing, and it's a financial thing. And
Yeah.
as soon as the right pieces get in place, then I think it's going to be decriminalized, and it'll
be legal everywhere.
legalized.
Yeah.
And
It will.
And it should be. It became illegal during Prohibition.
Yeah.
It was never illegal prior to that.
Right.
And that was a political thing.
It always
was
is.
a money thing.
It always
so,
is.
and if it helps people and they can get better and they feel better a little bit, then, but again, it's like anything. You can't abuse it. I mean, you go
Right.
like anything. All right, here's the deal. So at the very end, what I like to do is just let you just your final thoughts and what you
God.
want to say to the world. Like, what do you like? I'll put it to you. This
I don't have
way.
anything to say.
What?
I mean, like I legit said it.
So,
I talked about the things that were most important to me. Obviously, drugs, God, which is probably at the top of everything. The kids, divorce, relationships, the plANdEmic, politics. I mean, there was nothing really that I think was important that we didn't talk about except death. But
well, let me ask you this. I'll ask you this final question. If you
Okay.
were going away tomorrow,
going away,
yeah, I mean, if you
like on vacay?
no, not on vacation. If you were done in this world tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
What would you say? What would you like to say, and maybe who would you say it to? I don't know. What would you say? What would be your
My final goodbye.
Your final conversation. Yeah. Like, what would you like to say? This is it.
Now that I put me on the spot. I mean, I don't know. See, if you'd have asked me that a couple years ago, my answer would probably be different because right now
I wasn't doing this a couple years ago.
I know.
I can't go back in my time machine.
I mean, it would, because right now, like, I'm focused on my where I know I'm going to spend eternity. And to me, anybody that doesn't know they're going to heaven, to me, it is the saddest thing of anything else in this world. Because
so, would you say something to them then, or?
I would say, yeah. To those that are going or that aren't going.
Well, whoever you want.
I say, if you're not a
Like,
believer,
if you're tomorrow's it.
You're not a believer.
You're going to heaven tomorrow.
Stop being so stubborn. Stop being so stubborn.
Okay.
Have faith, because that's all you need to say. Say a prayer. God will do the rest. That's what I would say.
Dig it. All right.
I plant the seed. He can water. Okay. I
Right.
just planted the seed. That's what I would say. And if you'd asked me a couple years ago, my answer would have been different. It probably would have been love everyone. Just, you know what I mean? Because
I'm sure it'd be different at different points in your life.
yeah. But I just feel like there's so much anger and hatred and evil in this world. If we could just like love your neighbor as yourself, you know what I mean? This whole world, everything about it, it would be different. It would be different. But there's so much evil in this world.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Eve, for taking a bite of that.
Well,
I mean,
it's just like when we were at the range today and stuff, like those guys were so appreciative. Like, oh my God, like they were genuinely
they were
so happy.
Yes.
And it gave me so much joy. It gave me more joy than the $20 in bullets that they shot off.
Right.
Like, who cares? Shit about that.
And what did you do? Something as simple as you let them shoot your gun.
It made me feel so.
And they were in heaven.
Good.
Yeah.
That they were so appreciative.
Yep.
Like it just made me like. It made me feel good about myself.
Yep.
You know, it was really nice. I mean, they did more for me than I think I did for them by letting them shoot the gun. Like, jeez.
And that's, I mean.
So it was cool.
That's awesome.
That's to me. That's dope.
It is.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. If it could just stop being about us all the time and be about other people.
I guess one day at a time, right? You gotta starts with you. It starts with us, right? You gotta do it.